Hi everyone, welcome to this live about weight loss and the mind, subconscious and the conscious mind. I'm going to find search for Betsy.
Hi.
There she is.
That was easy.
Within 1 minute. I'm so
That
proud of
was
myself.
amazing.
You know what helps? To have my glasses on. That's so nice. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talk about this. I was thinking it's a topic also for self-love and self-care because
Yeah.
you know what you want to achieve with weight loss, like feeling better, being healthier, liking your body more eventually.
Yeah.
It's good to accept everything how you have, how you are, and what you have, but it's also good to say I want to make the best of myself. I want to feel great.
Right.
So I'd love to hear from you. Can you talk a little bit louder, maybe? I think I turn you a little bit higher too, maybe. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Great. So, sorry.
No worries.
Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah. What would you like to start? Because I would like to hear about what motivated you to become a coach in weight loss. And you have such a beautiful theme, 30 pounds in 90 days. And that's like a great idea to do it like that. Even if you lose less, if you need to lose less, it's still a good
Right.
feeling, like from the beginning to the end. So maybe you can
Exactly.
talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So how I got into coaching is, really with my own struggles with my own weight. I struggled with my weight ever since I was, like 13 and, kind of went through puberty and my body changed and just didn't like that at all. And, I just ended up using food to kind of deal with difficult things in my life and, circumstances from, my family life and just different relationships. Food was an easy thing to turn to for me. And so, I really had my own weight struggles and struggled with that for, decades, really, for about 25 years. I would try different diets and they would work temporarily, but I just didn't stick with anything very long. And so I'd eventually gain the weight back. And so it was kind of in this yo-yo, losing and
Yeah,
gaining
that's so well
cycle.
known for everybody that deals
It's
with
so
weight loss. Yeah.
common, right? Yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
common experience, almost to the point where we think that that's how it's supposed to be. But I think I just instinctively knew, like, there's got to be a better way. How could I eat healthy and take care of my body and be at my ideal weight and actually want to eat the way that keeps me there? And so I really worked hard on that a lot in my life and was able to learn techniques for managing my mind, really, and creating the thoughts and emotions that keep me wanting to take care of my body so that it became effortless. It became effortless for me to eat the way that fueled my body properly, and I no longer needed to use food to cope with the hard things in my life and all the emotional eating
Yeah.
that I really felt kind of out of control with.
Yeah.
So once I learned those things and found that success in my own life, I really just wanted to share that with other women to help them to achieve that kind of thing in their own lives, because so many women are struggling with that, emotional eating and feeling out of control, and we really beat ourselves up a lot. So
Also that, yeah, for sure.
yes,
Yeah.
so much of that, and then that creates the cycle that keeps us eating more because that feels so bad. And if we use food to make ourselves feel better, then we're going to keep returning to that, and that just perpetuates that cycle.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Yeah. I've done the same thing, so I know all about it. Yeah.
yeah, it's a very common thing that us humans do, and it's more like just managing it and knowing how our brains are kind of creating that allows us to get rebalanced when we kind of get derailed, because nobody eats perfectly all the time. I don't. I eat junk food sometimes, but before I would let that mean something was wrong, and then I would beat myself up inside, which would just cause me to spiral out of control with my eating all over again.
And
so
then
now
you feel bad about yourself, and then you beat yourself up again, and then oh, there you go. Yeah.
And then the food is what we've trained if food is the thing you've trained yourself to use to feel better, because you don't know how to just feel your emotions and how to change your emotions, then you're just going to keep returning to the food, and it's just this cycle that goes on year after year after year. And we think that the way to handle it is to go on another diet where we restrict and we deprive ourselves, and we do it because we hate ourselves and we hate our bodies, and we're doing it from this energy of control and self-rejection, not from loving ourselves.
Yeah, it is so sad. I so agree with you, and that is really, I think, for many people a thing, and to change that, to replace that by other thoughts and other habits, that needs work. If you want to make a change, you always need to do some work, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And if we want to lose weight, then what we have to do is change our eating.
Yeah.
Right. But most of us are trying to do that by forcing the eating part, and then we end up using a lot of willpower in order to stick to things. And willpower just doesn't last forever.
No,
and it doesn't change our habits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I teach people
the
how to
willpower
do is to
so interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
no, you go.
We have like willpower.
Sorry, you go. Yeah.
Oh, really? I'm sorry. I don't hear the echo on my end, but is there a delay then?
No, it's fine. Continue. But I interrupted you as I spoke simultaneously, but I didn't intend to. So
okay.
Continue. Yeah.
Yeah, so when we just take the approach of just going on another diet, and we don't change, so we change what we're eating, but we don't change the way that we're talking to ourselves and the beliefs that we have about ourselves, then that change in our bodies will only last as long as we can stick to the diet.
Yeah.
But if we're using willpower to stick to the diet, that will run out at some point, or eventually we'll go back to eating the way we ate before. And if we change our bodies without changing our minds as well, then the change will only be temporary.
And it's senseless. I so agree. And then you have also the emotional part of the comfort eating, right? Mm-hmm. I am raised in the Netherlands and my parents went through the Second World War and the Holocaust. And so food was very connected to survival, very much so, and respect to have it, and really to be very mindful of it, but also the comforting thing. And I have done a lot of comforting eating, so I know that part. Maybe at least for 15 years was a long time, and I started also in my puberty. And I know how hard it is to change all that. And this is one of the things I love from what is going on today. There is much more understanding of that. Like we mentioned the word self-love, you did that too. Now, for many people, that sounds like elderly people like, wow, it's so egotistical. You think about yourself, loving yourself. It's so the opposite of what always was heard. Like specifically for girls, women, you're a good girl if you give. You're not a good girl if you receive. You don't talk about that. So you feel only good if you give. So what is going on? Are you too emotional? So, okay, then I'm too emotional. Okay, then I eat to feel good about myself. At least you have those endorphins in your body that start to give you a good feeling from eating another. When I was in my first year of the conservatory, I was 18. I lived alone, and I loved that. And I ate 1 year only grapefruits and apple kind of apple cake, apple turtle, apple strudel, something in Holland. I was obsessed with losing weight, feeling good, and this was my diet. And I had the grapefruits and some vitamin stuff. So I know, it's so hard.
Wow.
And also, you probably know that too. If you tell yourself, I'm on a diet, that diet has a negative association already because it feels like, I don't like it, but I have to do it. That has, right? So I always say, skip the diet word. You go exactly for the mindset you are talking about. Can you give a nice example? I know all your examples are nice, but can you give maybe an example for people that are listening? What is a good thing to say to yourself if you feel like you want to binge eat, or you're like a bit frustrated or lonely?
Yeah. So with emotional eating, what I really teach people how to do is to actually feel that emotion. And I train them to feel it in their bodies, because our emotions, what I teach is that our emotions are coming from our thinking. And so when we have a thought in our brain, neurotransmitters are sent to our bodies and we feel that emotion somewhere in our body. So let's say that you have the thought, I never stick to anything.
Yeah.
So many people have that thought when it comes to diets. It's like, well, I never stick to anything. So when you have that thought, it might create an emotion such as discouraged. So when you feel discouraged, what I train you to do is to drop into your body and to actually feel that feeling in your body, not to keep spinning in more thoughts of it, but to drop into your body and locate it in your body. Like, where do I feel this feeling of discouraged? What does discouraged feel like? If I had to describe this to an alien who had never felt an emotion before, how would I describe it? What does it actually feel like? And so when we're able to do that with curiosity and actually feel the emotions in our body, what we usually learn is that the emotions aren't that bad. And the truth is that our bodies, our brains are designed to process any emotion that a human being can feel. We don't need to solve that emotion by eating something to feel better or using some other thing to distract us from it. We just need to feel it until it's done, until we've processed it, until it's, gone.
Yeah.
We need to move through the emotion
absolutely.
rather than trying to get away from it. Right?
And
so that's
that's
a
lot
of the work that we do with emotional eating is learning to actually feel the emotions so that we don't have this desire or this panic, like, oh my gosh, I've got to get rid of this, and the only way is to eat, because that's what we've trained our brains to do. It's like, oh my gosh, I feel discouraged or frustrated or whatever the emotion is, I better go have something to eat because that will make me feel better. We don't need to feel better when we actually just feel that emotion and we're willing to feel it even if it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it is also a short-term thing, right? Shortly lived, because you have then a short time, like, oh great, and then afterwards you feel even worse as you did before. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So what we do with emotional eating is we eat something to make the negative emotions go away. So we're distracted away from them for a moment, but it doesn't actually solve them. They don't actually go away. They come back. But now on top of that, we have maybe some regret, maybe some self-loathing for, oh my gosh, why did I do that again? Plus, we probably have extra weight because of this pattern that we keep doing. And so we really make those emotions so much worse by piling more on top of them by eating in response to them.
Yeah. So true. So true. It makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have an 8-week course where you teach that, right?
Well, my course is 12 weeks.
Oh, sorry, 12. Okay,
yeah.
That's
and it's not really a
90
course
days,
as much
sure.
as a coaching program. Like, I work with women just like one-on-one with their specific struggles, and we really look at, their results and how they are creating them and how they can create something completely different by changing their thoughts. And that awareness really gives them the ability to redirect from the thoughts that they're currently thinking into thoughts that are going to create results that they actually want.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. But that's fantastic. In the title, we said the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, right? And the subconscious mind is part of my work, because in the subconsciousness is, of course, stored what your parents said to you about food, or your family, but you can also inherit ideas. And food habits can run through families too. If your mother was always on a diet and was fighting with food, I bet that your kids have issues with that too, more or less. Not every kid. It gets a bit noisy here. They seem to do something in the garden. Sorry, I hope you don't hear it. But also, other thing that I've seen in my work is transgenerational trauma work, that some people that had eating disorders based on, and that came to the light actually, based on that they had two or three generations back in their family gone through starvation. And that is, of course, also very traumatic. If a parent cannot feed his or her kids, and if you're, that's very, very traumatic. And that's not over in a second because it has not been healed, right? So I have seen several times that there are people today, like very, very overweight and subconsciously loyal to, we are in this family, part of the family system, loyal to the people who suffered and died from hunger. So there's a kind of electrode in their brain, like, if I don't eat, I die. And that is a great way to remain overweight. I'm not sure if you have ever noticed that, but that is also so interesting. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, because then your mindset needs to do so much her best or his best to change the thoughts. And that's really like meditating about it from where is this coming from? Where do I feel that I need to eat, right? So I think it's very fascinating what you do, because I have seen people over time struggling a lot with all kinds of diets and disappointments, and it's that yo-yo effect. You mentioned that, right? Yeah, it is. And it is also sometimes about acceptance. Now I have a great weight, I look good, I work out, I'm healthy. So celebration, right? Really, you cannot, there are people that go on and on and on, and they come into a kind of anorexia. Or with young girls, what you can hear today too, that they want to have the perfect bodies, and that they get so thin and so like using everything to be in a certain figure. That's in a way also not loving yourself. And I like the idea of making the best out of yourself, right? But that's a bit, it's based on discomfort, or it's based on not being happy with who you are.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I love what you mentioned about kind of discovering those beliefs that are driving our behavior. And, you know, that's part of my program too, is we kind of tease out those beliefs, and we keep digging down and find like why or what it is that we're thinking that's keeping us from adopting these new habits that we want to have, or that's blocking us from thinking about ourselves or about our bodies or about how we should look and how we should be. That's kind of blocking those things from really taking root. And a lot of times we'll find something really deep like that, like you mentioned, you know, that you know, food is scarce, and if we don't eat what we can whenever we can, we might starve to death. And so when we find those things, what I teach people to do is just to realize, okay, that's coming from a thought that isn't a fact, and it's your primitive brain is just trying to keep you alive, and
I don't hear you now.
Just wants to keep you alive.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Now I do.
Awesome.
It was like a pop. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Someone called me.
Oh, yeah.
Am I okay now? No, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, definitely. Continue. It's so interesting. Continue. Yeah.
Okay. So our primitive brain just wants to keep us alive, and its job, you know, it sees everything as either a threat to our survival or something that'll keep us alive. And so food to our primitive brain means survival. Yeah. And so it can it just gets confused, especially with the overabundance of food that we have today. Because we don't have the scarcity of food that our ancestors had, but our primitive brain hasn't caught up with that yet. And so I just train people to notice the thoughts that we're having, but not be so worried about it. Just be like, that's a thought that I know isn't true, and I'm not going to, you know, go down the rabbit hole with it. I'm not going to jump on that train. I'm just going to understand, okay, my brain thinks that that's useful, but I know that what I really need is to stop eating when I'm full. I know my brain's telling me to keep eating because I don't know when I'm going to get food again, but I do know when I'm going to get food again. My fridge is full of it. So I know that's uncomfortable.
That's our problem today, right?
Right. It's not a problem today. And so we just kind of train our brains to notice that what's going on, but know where it's coming from. And the awareness of why our brains are doing that makes it so much easier to just kind of let that drama, it's almost like a toddler having a tantrum. It's like, I know that you're really upset about that, but you're going to be okay. Like, I know that you're going to be okay. We know that there's still food, and I know you're not so sure about that, but you know, I got you. We're fine. Yeah. So kind of talking back to the brain and just kind of being the boss, you know, I kind of teach how, you know, it's almost like we've got two different brains going on. We've got like our primitive brain that's only concerned with survival. And then we've got our wise adult brain that's basically running the show. And we just got to make that part stronger and more confident to be like, okay, actually we're fine. We don't need to keep eating, or we don't need to eat that right now. It feels really urgent, but you know, we're going to be just fine. We can just press on.
Yeah.
And
wow.
so,
yeah.
Yeah, no, you go ahead.
Oh, that's so funny. No, I'm thinking that's so interesting because it is like really a conversation in your head. And what I was thinking about, you mentioned the reptile brain and the primitive brain, same word. Is that the same thing? Anxiety, a lot of anxiety, specifically the anxiety we don't know where it comes from, seems to emanate from there. And because that brain is older, they say like 100 million years, but I don't know how precisely that is, because that brain is older, much older than the speech center we have. So the words don't reach there. And that's why the anxieties can still going on by popping up. And then the soothing language that you also are speaking about, like the dialogue that you have, even though you can say things and you still feel the anxiety, you still can with breathing and with being gentle to yourself and giving self-compassion, all these kind of things. What I can see in your course or in your program, your transformational program, is that it really is you heal on more multi levels in a way. It's not only, oh, I've now a great body, I look how I look. No, it is much more around that. You have really you have really eliminated more things in your system, in your memory system, in your subconscious too.
Yeah, like we really learn how to take the actions that we want to take, even though we have some emotions going on. Right. Just learning how to take action from the emotions that we want to have that are going to fuel that journey and fuel our progress and get us closer to our goals, rather than having to attach to the emotions like anxiety or discouragement. You know, just because those are there doesn't mean that we can't take the actions that we want to take. We're 50-50. Like, I teach this concept that life is like 50% awesome and 50% kind of crappy. And when we lean into the fact that life's not supposed to be amazing all the time, then we can stop being so upset about the bad parts and just be like, this is just that bad part. This is just that hard part. This is just some discomfort. I can handle that. Like, okay, so I'm feeling discouraged today. That doesn't mean I'm not going to show up for myself. That doesn't mean I'm not going to go do my workout. That doesn't mean I'm going to blow my meal plan just because I'm feeling discouraged. I know how to feel discouraged and still show up for myself. Why? Because I'm worth it and because I can. And so we really just have to learn how to allow our emotions to be there, but not be like a prisoner to them and have to act from them all the time. Really choosing which emotions we want to act from.
Yeah. I like that you said you can still go to the gym or work out. The thing is, if you do that, you always feel better because of the endorphins. You always feel better because, you know, they now say it is just on the side, but it's a nice thing to know. There is now new science that shows that if you work out really regularly, 5-6 times a week, really, and maybe half an hour each day, it helps to prevent Alzheimer's. So now it's not that we say to our parents, hey, workout is good for you. No, you have to work out because that's like phenomenal. So you see even that being physically very passive and sitting a lot and not moving a lot and not doing a lot of things impact also your weight, of course, but also everything together. because your brain as well, you know?
Absolutely.
So I
Yeah.
found that very interesting because many of us have that fear, like, oh, you have parents with Alzheimer and look at their lifestyle. Is there something that you see, like, maybe I need to do that differently? You know, I saw a while ago a video of women in their 80s. They had a dance video. They were dancing so phenomenal. And I was like, wow, how good is that? If you are in your 80s and you have this energy and this alignment in your body is like so, yeah, supple and great. It's all the result of, yeah, all together.
Right.
You
That
do what you
lifetime of
love,
habits.
your weight, you're eating
Right.
healthy, you move a lot, and your stamina lifts up as well. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah. It must be great to work with people to give them that transformation for you.
Yeah. It's really rewarding. Just to watch them, because when I first start working with them, there's a lot of just kind of heaviness mentally and emotionally, and they feel so down on themselves because they want to lose the weight and they haven't been able to stick to things.
Yeah.
And then as I kind of show them how to feel better about themselves before they've even lost any weight, that frees them up, and I can just like see it in their demeanor that they're so much more relaxed and so much less judgmental of themselves, and they feel so much better about themselves. That's the kind of energy that's going to drive the healthy habits.
How fulfilling for you too, that you can help people get there. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It really is. I love what I do. It's so rewarding. And, watching other people change their lives as I'm able to kind of guide them and teach them these tools. Yeah, there's nothing like it. It's phenomenal. I love it.
And you are also a certified nutritionist, right? Is that what
Yeah.
you became first, and then the awareness came towards in the direction of weight loss coaching?
Yes. So I always have been interested in nutrition and fitness. My mom was actually really into natural foods as I was growing up. She was the daughter of a produce dealer, so she grew up with fruits and vegetables all around, and their family didn't have a lot of money sometimes, and so their meals were like whatever fell off the back of the truck, so it was like eggplant and zucchini and bananas and all the produce. Like that's what they ate. They ate very little even meat and dairy products. Like it was just a lot of produce. And so I was raised eating a lot of fruits and vegetables myself.
So healthy, so great.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, most of my siblings we all still eat that way. And I've always been very, passionate about healthy eating. And so getting the good foods in has been second nature to me. Still takes work though, because my brain, just like anybody else's, wants the, the junk food, because it's got that high reward of dopamine and all those feel good chemicals. But, that's kind of where I
also
started.
The colors. Sorry to interrupt you here. Also the colors. If you go to Whole Foods and you see there the cakes, it's like, OMG, it's so hard not to go there because you don't see it even as junk food. It looks so great. You think, well, it's Whole Food, they have better ingredients. And I like that you said it about your childhood. I would like to interject about that too, because my parents became pretty alert. I don't want to say the word fanatic, but very motivated about organic food. So we did not have your story, but they were one of the first generations, I would say, they were busy with organic food, right? And I have had a lot of internal issues. So I had diets for all kinds of medical reasons. I don't want to go into that, of course, but it made me very aware about food combinations as well. And I noticed that if you live in Holland, you eat bread, a lot of bread and cheese and things, which was very bad for me. And when I started to change that, and I took that out, it's probably gluten intolerance, but we didn't know that. And when I raised my own 3 kids, you do the same things. And I learned in my life that eating dessert really gives troubles. Eating dessert always gave me troubles. So I never take that. I never give it to my kids. And my kids have never been overweight. They have very healthy ways of living. I have not been fanatic about that either, because they didn't get all the sugary candies and stuff. We didn't have those. I had all kinds of other stuff. But if they're on birthday parties, they could eat whatever they wanted, because if you forbid everything and they want it all the time, right?
Doesn't work.
And I realize now that my 3 kids, they're in their early 20s, they don't drink sodas ever. You know, yes, they eat good ice cream. They buy mostly everything at Whole Foods. They're so like aware of all that. And then I wanted to say that for also if parents are watching, because you want to give that to your kids, that they don't get in that cycle, you know, and they really, it really works like that. And I have also, when they were young, as a parent, you often want them to eat vegetables or things. I have never made a drama about it. You know, I put it like, you don't like it? Oh, that's too bad that you don't like it. And we just went on with the rest of the discussion. So there was no power game to be made. And it is so nice if we teach our kids the habits that you are teaching women now. And it's very helpful because it really works. That's my own example, you know, that they don't eat cookies. They don't, it's amazing. They don't all eat all that crap. They're sometimes healthier than I am. Like, come on, guys.
Well, and that's something I love about working with women is the influence that we have as women over the people in our lives, not just our children, but people look to us for an example, our loved ones. You know, people are looking and watching what we do. And of course, what we do speaks louder than what we say. And so that's a common motivator that people come to me with, is they say, I don't feel like I'm showing a good example to my children. And I want to show them that I can walk the walk and not just talk the talk. So and I want to show them that I can do hard things. You know, like the influence that we have over the other people in our lives is a really, really big deal. And I think people just feel that inherently, you know, they just feel that inherently. Like I want to show my family that I can do hard things and therefore they can too. You know, it's this kind of nurturing nature that we have as women naturally. Yeah. And so like, so when I help a woman to change her life by changing her lifestyle and eating habits, that has a ripple effect that I just am thrilled about, because that impacts all the other people in her life, her partner, her parents, her siblings, her children, her grandchildren. And so that's one of my favorite things about working with women. We have an immense influence for good around us. We really, really do.
I love that. We have an immense influence for good around us in all areas. That's so nice. That's like giving ourselves a compliment, okay?
Right, that's right.
That's so nice. And men, of course, too. Of course.
Yes, of course.
Everybody has their own thing. But it is nice to see that, because it is, you need to be taken serious about that. If you just, and I still see young parents giving crap to their kids just to get them quiet or to be over with it or giving in to what they want. And it's a pity, because I think in the Western world in general, and I mean the Western world, the United States and Europe, right? They're in the different food cultures in Europe, for sure, more differences than here. Of course, because it's different countries, different languages, different habits, right? And it's interesting to see how that develops. Like Germany is maybe the #1 in organic and healthy food. Holland is pretty good in the meantime too. But I remember the conversations my parents had. They were like advocating, right? Oh my gosh, you saw the resistance. And I grew up with that, the resistance from people that came in our home. We don't want to know that. We don't care about organic. And then you get like the fights, like, oh, you don't taste it. Oh, it's not so bad. Oh, your body can handle it. Now, look at the illnesses we have. Right. Look at the incredibly many severe illnesses are in the United States. That's just
right.
And isn't that, and I have several medical friends in the Netherlands, and they told me that they had 8 hours about nutrition during their whole education. And it's like, and the doctor is totally doing everything about your body. And maybe not if you have a broken leg, then the food is maybe not important, but yes, it's too. Because healing the bones, you need maybe more additional, that's your take to say that, more or vitamin D or food with rich vitamin D and all that. So it's again education. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And it's just we're in this culture with food here in the United States that's just absolutely set up to make us sick, to make us overweight. And we have to be conscious of that. Otherwise, we will end up going down that road. The food is designed to be as addictive as possible. They have whole teams of scientists and researchers that work for the food companies, whose job it is to make sure that you keep coming back to that food.
Yeah. The chips with the level of exactly that you want to continue to eat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The sweets.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's a whole science behind that. And it's just, and there's no nutrition in any of that food. And so our bodies are literally malnourished, starving to death, not from a lack of calories, but from a lack of actual nutrients. And so if we don't learn how to take our brains back from, the addictions to these foods, then we'll find ourselves just in this constant cycle of poor health, really.
Wow, that is so informative. I want to show that what I'm drinking, not a beer or soda, it is sparkling seltzer water.
There you go.
I want to make a good impression here, right?
Good job.
Yeah, that's my addiction, sparkling water. Oh. So, but no, that is, if you think about it, it is so terrible, because now we know how terrible it is. And it's already done. There are generations, and you inherit that. It's interesting because some women, when they become pregnant, they start to do a cleansing. Some more conscious women start to do a body cleansing and eating healthier but it starts actually from childhood. You can start any day. It's never too late, of course, because it's great to make that change. Right. But it is something like, you cannot shift like this. It is how you, You can see it also with some kids, what they eat. You see it in everything. You become, there is that German expression, you become what you eat, or you are what you eat. Der Mensch ist, was er isst. I certainly speak German, I'm Dutch, but anyway, we learn German as kids too. So that's, what you eat, you are in a way too. And I looked at your pictures, and you look so, you look very slender. You look so like healthy yourself. And
thank you.
That's a great example too, because there are very well-meaning health coaches, and you look at them sometimes like, I'm not so sure, You need to really live it. You need to live it. And if you have a reason why you cannot be slender or you cannot work out, that's totally okay, because that's the reason. Yeah. We don't have a judgment there. But it is, women like you are like really with a lantern, helping people to move to better health all over. And there's another thing what I appreciate so much about your approach is the mindset. We both are in the same place here, but the mindset helps so much with health too, Yeah. And with everything, if you tell yourself, I have allergies, the first thing I would say is, you want to keep them? No, then don't say it that way, because your subconscious take that in, I have allergies, I'm too fat, I'm too heavy. Oh yeah, that's a statement. So you will fulfill that statement as
yeah, absolutely.
So the way you train your brain to think differently, Mm-hmm. And also with the tapping, and you can do the tapping with that. I totally love and accept myself, even though I don't have the ideal weight yet. You feel the yet you get to, you can get there. And that feels already lighter. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I love tapping as well. I learned tapping way back when it was first invented, before it was even called tapping, when it was called EFT.
It is EFT, and the tapping is
they still call it that.
Emotional freedom technique. In Holland, they call it neuro-emotional freedom technique. Every country has their own stuff. But it is the same thing. You work at the same points, and the tapping is a popular word.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome stuff. It's awesome stuff for sure.
Yeah.
So, it's funny by how you were mentioning the pregnancy and how our eating can affect our children. So I have 4 kids, and the way I ate in their pregnancies was pretty different. And, of course, I knew that eating healthfully during my pregnancies would help my baby and keep me from gaining so much weight too. I was really afraid of gaining weight. My body image back in my early 20s when I had my first baby was not very healthy. So I was, terrified of gaining weight. But so with my first child, I ate very, very well. I didn't eat any sugar. I ate everything, you know, as organic as I could get it over 20 years ago. You know, the organic things weren't as available as they are now.
Yeah.
And I didn't gain, I gained kind of, you know, more of an ideal amount of weight for that pregnancy. And it, you know, went really well. And then my second child, I didn't do that at all. I thought, oh, well, I didn't gain that much weight. I don't gain a lot of weight when I'm pregnant. So I just kind of let myself eat whatever. And so and I ate a lot of junk with my second child and gained probably 3 times the amount of weight that I gained in my first pregnancy. But now to look at those 2 kids, the way that their palates are vastly different. My first child, who I ate really healthy during her pregnancy, she loves to eat healthy food and she likes treats, but she, you know, doesn't overeat on them. And then my second child that I ate junk during his pregnancy, or my pregnancy with him, all he eats is junk. And so I think, okay, there's something to that, you know? And then so I had 2 more pregnancies after that. And those 2 kids, you know, I did better than my second pregnancy, but not as good as my first one. And each one of those children's current eating habits reflect the way I ate during my pregnancies with them. So it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating.
It is. Oh, I love to share my story too. My first one, it was just before Passover. I think I was like 4 months pregnant, and then the crazy food eating started. I ate then parsley, a lot of parsley, right, in the Passover thing. And I was every day, I wanted since then to have parsley every day. Parsley is the word, right?
Parsley? Yeah.
Yeah. Parsley. That's my daughter, who is very picky with food and very healthy. The second pregnancy, since I was young kid, I wanted to be vegetarian, and I most of the time was, but not always. And there was also times that I needed to eat some meat because of the diets I had, whatever, because it was okay. So when I was with my second pregnancy, I badly wanted to eat steak. And it was so terrible. I could walk to my job, and I was then still a musician. So I remember I walked to the academy to teach, and I was like an hour early. And I went into a restaurant and ordered a big steak, and I was just eating the steak, and I needed to eat. Well, guess what? My son, he eats some vegetarian, but meat is really something that if it would be up to him, without all the other thoughts about it, he would eat it every meal. So he's limiting himself up to a certain degree, but it is so funny. And my third one, I don't even remember. Everything was okay, and that's typically how the guy is. Oh, you know, he's okay with everything. So that's so interesting. For all this kind of things, I would have loved to have 20 kids. You know, to choose 20 names, I would have loved to have all these different stories. Like how did that go? You know, you get so much more information.
Right. I wish we knew everything, you know, in our 20s and 30s that we know now, right?
But with that meat, Betsy, I could not control myself. It was crazy. And people looked at me because I had, of course, a belly from here to Tokyo. And I was not very overweight. I was just having the big belly. That's it. So thank God. But I was already always watching because I have watched my entire life. And that needed to eat that meat. So it's like, okay, you know, feeling guilty. Don't do it. It's whatever. For eons, we are trained to eat meat. So if we don't want to eat it anymore for various reasons, which I don't want to, maybe our bodies now and then ask for it, and you know, just be without feeling guilty about all those things.
Okay.
If you want to eat more, that's also what I say. If you want to eat some terrible things, then do it with joy. At least you get the positive energy in your body, and you don't feel guilty afterwards. I enjoy this. That's it. Boom. And then enjoy it. You go, because the positive energy is also so important. I love talking with you about this. We are like 45 minutes in it.
Oh
now.
Wow, that was
and yeah, we could talk. Maybe we should do another time, then we can continue about all this.
Yeah,
and thank you so much for showing up here, Betsy, and sharing us your wisdom and insight.
It's been really fun, Carla.
It's so nice. Yeah, it's so nice, and it's so nice to learn from you, which I really did, and all the sharings. I hope that it's interesting for people. So I wish everybody a great day.
Yeah, me too.
And see you soon, Betsy.
Okay.
And Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I am Carla Van Walsum, founder of Heart-Based Solutions, where I help you with psychology, neuroscience, and holistic modalities transform your life, career, and relationships. If you're new here, make sure you click the subscribe button and hit the bell to get notified for new videos. Any link that I mentioned in this video, you can find in the description box below.